So before that, let me just revise what we have discussed in yesterday's session. So yesterday we discussed about first basic things like what is Linux. Yesterday it was our first day, yes. So yesterday we discussed about what is Linux. Linux is an open source operating system. What is Linux? Linux is an open source operating system. What do you mean by open source? Yes, we have discussed yesterday. No? Can anybody write it in the chat box? What is open source? What is meant by open source? Yesterday we have discussed. No? Yes. No. Subaradu. Anyone can access the source code. So the open source means the source code which is designed or developed by the manufacturer or the vendor or a particular person who design it has to put it over the internet so that others or anybody can access that source code. That is called open source. So I repeat, yesterday we discussed that what is Linux. Linux is an open source operating system. So open source means the source code of the Linux operating system is freely available over the internet, which is designed by Linus Torvald. So who designed the Linux kernel? So yesterday we discussed that Linux operating system or any operating system is a logical thing. It's a collection of programs. So as for the Linux operating system, this collection of program is logically divided into two levels. The first level of the Linux operating system is called shell. And the second level of the Linux operating system is called kernel. So the main part of the Linux OS is Linux kernel. So who designed this Linux kernel? Linus Torvald of Finland country. So it was officially released on 30 August 1991. So what he did, whatever coding or the program he has written to design this Linux kernel, he put it over the internet, which anybody can access and modify. Because of that, we have so many flavors. Yesterday we have discussed like Red Hat, Ubuntu, Kali Linux, SUSE, Debian, Turbo. These are only some of the names. So Linux is designed using the Unix operating system. So what is Unix? Unix is also an operating system. Which type of operating system? It was completely based on, or it is completely based on command line, no graphical interface. And the main advantage of this Unix OS is very secure. The Unix OS is very secure. It will not get a virus because it works only in the command mode, and it will not get like hang or struck. Very good security. But the major problem in the Unix was Unix is designed as a proprietary based, or in simple word, we can say hardware dependent OS. Means originally Unix operating system is designed by AT&T, American Telephone and Telegraphs, in 1973. So they made these OS in a such a way that the OS name they have given to Unix operating system is sys3 and sys5. Like in Windows, we have the names Windows 10, Windows 11. So similar to that, they kept the name sys3, sys5, which can be installed only on this AT&T machine. By that, they earn initially a lot of money by seeing that other bigger companies like IBM, HP, Sun Machine, they also design their own Unix OS. Like we discussed yesterday, Sun developed Solaris, IBM developed AIX, HP company developed HPUX. These are the names of the Unix flavor. So AIX can be installed only on IBM machine. HPUX can be installed only on HP machine. Solaris can be installed on Sun machine. Out of that, Solaris became very popular. But that company, Solaris, the company Sun, which designed the Solaris OS, now taken over by the Oracle. And now the Red Hat company is under the IBM. Remember this. So I told you yesterday, since the Linux is open source, so anyone can take the source code of the Linux OS or the Linux kernel, I should say exactly. So anyone can take the Linux kernel, which is designed by Linus Torvalds, or from the internet, because the Linus Torvalds put whatever coding or program he has written to design this Linux kernel, he put it over the internet, which anybody can access and modify. So we can take that source code and we have to add some features to it. Then we can have our own OS with our own name and own logo. So official logo of the Linux OS is Penguin, like Windows official logo is window. So using this Linux kernel, different companies design their Linux based OS like Red Hat, Ubuntu, Kali Linux, SUSE, Debian, Turbo, one Indian named BOSS, Bharat Operating System Solution. So why it is possible in Linux? Because Linux is an open source. Open source means the source code of the Linux kernel, which is designed by Linus Torvalds, he put it over the internet, which anybody can access and modify. Because of that, we have so many flavors in Linux. So which flavor is most commonly used in the world on the servers? Yesterday I told you, I hope you remembered that.
Linux.
In Linux, which flavor? Most of the companies, yes, they are using Red Hat, RHEL. RHEL design, Red Hat company designed their OS in two categories, Fedora for home purpose, completely free, but RHEL under commercial. Commercial means they are keeping their OS free, but to provide the support, they are providing technical assistance support. They are charging. So if you purchase their genuine OS, so they are saying we are not taking this amount for the OS. We are taking this amount for providing the technical support or technical assistance. When you use our OS, if you get any problem, you can contact us. They will provide us, or the Red Hat people will provide the support. So RHEL 7 we are going to discuss for this course. RHEL stands for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So this comes under commercial and it is used in the industries. So I told you exact same version we are going to discuss, RHEL 7 through CentOS 7. So what is the difference between RHEL and CentOS? Yesterday I told you. So CentOS means a group of people who are working like a Linux experts in different company. To spread the Linux, they form one association with the name CentOS, where CentOS stands for C means community, E and T means enterprise, OS means operating system. So their intention is not to earn the money, their intention is to spread the Linux. For that purpose, what they are doing, they told their aim, their intention, and they took the source code from the Red Hat. So whenever Red Hat company releases any new version, they are giving the source code to the CentOS people. So exact same copy they are releasing with the CentOS name. So everything will be same between Red Hat and CentOS, from the command to installation interface, everything. Only difference is CentOS is completely free, but no support. RHEL they are charging, but support is there. Since we are using this OS for training purpose, so we are going to discuss RHEL 7 through CentOS 7. Okay. So as I told you yesterday, so if you are good with one flavor, you can work on any other flavor, because the architecture, the structure of all the Linux designed by different vendors will be same. It will be same. So if you are good with one flavor, you can easily work on other flavor. So some of the commands will be same. So like we are discussing on the using the CentOS. So whatever commands we use in CentOS, exactly same will work in Red Hat. But if you use the Ubuntu, some commands of the CentOS will work, or Red Hat will work in Ubuntu. Some commands may be not working. So at that time, what you have to do, Will you learn again the Ubuntu? No. Just you have to be aware what is your task. But the task, what is the command in Red Hat or CentOS. So just to type that equivalent command in the Google for Ubuntu. You will get it. Type it. You will get the output. So all the persons are working like that. But you have to be good with one flavor. Okay. So up to this we have discussed yesterday. So I told you today we will start the session with what topic? Why the companies prefer to use the Linux as their server. So as I told you, and I told you, you can verify it from any source. Most of the computers in the world, they are running on Windows because it is easy to operate. But at the same time, it is also a fact, most of the servers in the companies, they are working on Linux because Linux has more better security, stability compared to the other OS, including Windows. It may be not easy to operate as Windows, but security wise, stability wise, Linux is more secure, more stable compared to Windows. That's why most of the companies prefer to use most of the companies prefer to use their servers on Linux operating system. So that is the reason you will find most of the servers in the world working on Linux platform. So once you are done with this course, you will be eligible to work like a Linux administrator. And this course is designed in a such a way that it will cover the syllabus of RSCSA, complete RSCSA, Red Hat Certified Solution Associate, as well as some extra things depending upon the industry environment. So this course is designed in a such a way that it will cover the RSS syllabus plus some extra topics which is essential or required for working like a Linux administrator. So that's why if you do this course, you can easily cover, if you have a gap of even 3 years, easily you can cover the gap. So I told you today I'll go through the what are the topics which we are going to discuss in this course. But before that, let us try to understand why the companies prefer to use their servers on Linux because of the Linux features. So first, which attract companies is Linux is very secure, very stable. So how it can be safe and secure and stable? So Linux operating structure, the complete operating system of Linux operating system. You take any flavor, SUSE, Debian, Turbo Linux. The complete operating system of Linux is logically, not physically, logically divided into two levels. Level one is our shell. So that the first program of the Linux OS is shell, and the second part of the Linux OS program or part is Linux kernel. So Linux operating system, which is a collection of program. So yesterday we discussed. So those people who are joining today, for your benefit, I'll just quickly recap. Any operating system, how do you define an operating system? Yesterday we started the session with that point only. So if you have purchased a new laptop or desktop and there is no OS on that, can we able to use it? No, because any computer is a collection of hardware and software. Hardware understand binary language, software high level language, which is in the form of numerical numbers and alphabet. So we need one interface between the hardware and software. So that interface is operating system. So we have different operating system like Windows, Unix, Mac, Linux. But most of the people in the world are using okay. So most of the computers in the world, they are working on Windows. There is no doubt about it. But most of the servers in the world working on Linux. It is a fact because Linux is having very good security. So Linux is designed using the Unix. Windows is designed using the DOS. So Windows might be easy to operate, but Linux is very secure, very stable. So that is the reason. So how it is stable, how it is secure, we will see in today's session. So Linux operating system is a collection of program which consists of first layer is shell, second layer is you can call layer or the level Linux kernel. So the most important part of the Linux OS is Linux kernel. But we will see what is the function of the shell first. So in the Windows, do you have the shell? No. So why Linux is more secure? So the first layer of the Linux operating system is shell. So what is the default shell we uses in Linux? Anyone knows? If you know, please write it the name. What is the default shell we uses in Linux? If you don't know, no problem. But if you know, please write it. And please don't worry whether your answer will be right or wrong. As I told you yesterday, everybody is a student. No one is perfect. Nobody is teacher. We are just sharing each our knowledge. Yes. Very nice, Balaji. Yes. Shiva Pawan Kumar. You are absolutely right. Balaji, you should write /bin/bash. But your answer is also right. But accurately written by Shiva Pawan Kumar. Very nice. /bin/bash. So when you will get this shell, whenever we open the terminal, like if you are familiar with the Windows, if you want to apply the command in Windows, can you apply? Yes. For that, you have to open what? Command prompt. So same way in Linux, if you want to apply the command, you need to open the terminal. So how to open the terminal? We'll see once the installation is over. We are just discussing first what is fundamentals of Linux, introduction of Linux. Okay, so when we install Linux OS, when we open the terminal, what is the default shell we will get? /bin/bash. So what is the role of the shell? It is the interface between the user and kernel. So what is the work of the shell? It is a command checker. Means once the command is written on the terminal, that is on /bin/bash, first thing it will check it, the command is correct or not. It is in the vendor list or not. Like example, you have to check the content ls. You have given sl. So will it work? No. So first thing it will check command is correct or not. After checking the command, it will, because most of these shells are developed using what? Shell language. Sorry, C language. So now what is the first thing it will do? It will check the command is correct or not. If the command is not correct, immediately we'll get a command not found. Suppose if the command is correct, then what the shell will do? It will check that command is given by the normal user or super user. Super user means administrator. So what is the administrator account name in Windows? What you will call the administrator account name in Windows? Yes. Administrator account name in Windows is, you might be using Windows, no? So how do you log in as an administrator in Windows? What is the name of the administrator account in Windows? Yes, I'm waiting for your reply. Yes, administrator. Yes, Srikant. It is administrator. Yes, Balaji. In Linux, now you tell me in Linux, administrator account name in Linux is? Yes, very nice, Abhishek. Yes, it is called root. So please remember, all of you, the administrator account name in Linux is root. So if you want to get the full access or full privileges, you have to log in as a root. So the administrator account name in Linux is root. So now suppose you have login as a user, normal user, and you have given one command. So like in Windows to create the, like in the command in Linux to create the user is user add. So you are logging as the user and you have given the command, correct command, user add and some name, username. So will it create the user? You are logging as a normal user and given the command to create the user, user add some name. So will it create the user or it will not create the user? Yes, it will not create. Why? The shell will check that. First, it will check the command is correct or not. If the command is wrong, it will say command not found. If command is correct, but that command is given by the normal user. So most of the command will not be able to execute or run by the user. Only the root can execute all the command. So only few command can be run by the user, like ls command. But now the user is running a command or written the command or trying to execute the command user add. Now will he execute? No. So who will check this in Linux? The shell. Shell will check. First thing it will check command is proper or not. Once it is proper, then next thing it will check who has given this command. User. The user has the privilege or not. If it is given by the user, it will check privilege is there or not. All these things happens in a fraction of second. So if we suppose that user don't have the privilege, immediately we'll get a message on the screen, access denied or permission denied. If that same command is given by the root, what happens now? What happens? Now that command is given in which language? So when we open the terminal and we write the command, so command will be written in low language, that is binary or high level language. So when we give the command in Linux, like how written the command user add username, yes, high level language. So computer understand high level language. Whether the computer understand high level language, yesterday we discussed. Computer means your hardware and software. So your computer, which consists of hardware and software. So that's the hardware understand the high level language? No. So now what happens? Once the command is given, first thing the shell will check command is correct or not. If it is correct, second thing it will check which user is given that command, whether that user has the privilege. If it is yes, immediately what it will do, it will convert that command which is in high level language to binary. So can we see this? No, it happens in the background. So it convert into the high level into binary. Then where it will send now? So can the task will be done by the shell? No, the shell work is, it will first work is to check the command. If it is correct, and then it has to check whether the user given the command have the privilege or the right. If it is no, immediately it will not convert. Immediately it will display permission or access denied. If it is correct, then what it will do, it will convert that command which is in high level to binary, zeros and one. And where it will send, now the command will go to where? First we written the command on the terminal. Terminal means on shell. So what the shell will do, it will check command is correct or not. It is correct. Then he'll check who has given this. Does user have the authority or not? I have given the command as an administrator. Administrator command will, all commands need to be work or will work. Now what it will do? It will convert that command from high level to binary. Where it will send? Yes, anybody can guess where the command will go now? Yes. After converting from high level to binary, where it will go? No. It will go to the Linux operating system next part. What is that? What is the next part of the Linux OS? Yes, Linux kernel. Very nice. Now it will go to the Linux kernel. In which format? Binary format. So Linux kernel is called the core of the Linux operating system. In technical word, it is called core. In normal word, you can say it is the brain of the Linux operating system. So before I go to the subject, just to take the example, what is the function of the brain in our body? In our means, I'm talking about as a human being. All of us have a brain, yes. So what is the function of the brain in our body? What it will do? Once you understand that, you will understand the Linux kernel. What is the function, work of the brain in our body? Yes, you might have learned this in your school days. Okay, Balaji is saying brain gives command what to do. Okay, it gives us the commands. You are going into subject. Okay, nice. But at least you made a try. Very nice. Others, all of us are having brain, no? Yes. Then what is the okay? All of us don't have brain. Abhishek. Nice. I can't say whom, but it is your right to say the answer. You are free to say whatever you want. Okay, okay, no problem. Yes, yes, in simple word, like our friend Srikant is writing, signal control body movement. Okay, what you are saying, I'll try to communicate in simple word. So whenever we do any function, all our activities, whether it is physical or mental means which require memory, all our activities will be controlled and managed by whom in our body? Brain. Brain will not do any walking, it will not eat, it will not reply, but all our parts of the body will be controlled and managed by brain. Which particular task should be done by which part of the body in which scenario, it will be controlled, managed, and replied or given the response within the fraction of second with the help of the brain. Brain will never talk, brain will never walk, but how to walk, where to walk, when to walk, how to talk, what to talk, all these things comes to us naturally because we are born because of the grace of our parents or God, whatever you say, normal human being. So normal human beings means we have a normal brain. So all these things comes automatically to us. So all our activities will be controlled and managed. So suppose you are asking somebody, what is your name? So the other person will reply to you or not, that depends on him. And you will not ask everybody, what is your name on the road. That is the difference between the normal people and abnormal people. And suppose somebody asks you in the interview, what is your name? Will you tell? Definitely yes. But if you, some unknown person asks you, then you may question why you need like that. You may immediately not reply, give the answer your name. So every our activity, our response depends on the brain. All our activities will be controlled and managed by brain. So which particular task should be done by which part of the body, at what time, in which response, it will be controlled and managed by our brain. So same way, whenever a task comes to the Linux kernel, now which particular hardware or software should do that particular task, it will be decided, controlled and managed by Linux kernel. Now, once it receives the task which is converted by the shell into binary, the kernel will send that task which is in binary format to the required hardware, which particular hardware should do which particular task. It will go to the hardware. Now the hardware will do the task, output will be ready. Now output in the binary form will come to the kernel. Now what is the kernel will do? It will send the output again, which is in binary format to the shell. So what is the function of the kernel? It is like a brain. It controls and manages all the tasks that comes from our system. So once the output is ready from the hardware, it will come to the kernel. Kernel will send that output to the shell. Now what the shell will do? When we give the input, shell will convert the input from high level to binary. When the output is ready, it will convert the output from binary to high level. This is the work of the shell. Apart from checking the command is correct or not and who is executing the task. So basically shell main three work is, first it will check command is correct or not. Second, if command is given by which user. Third, if it is correct, it will convert to binary when the input is given. And when the output is ready, it will convert the output from binary to high level and displays on the monitor. So I hope now you got some idea about what is the role or function of the shell and kernel. Did you understood? If you are not understanding any point, you can please write it in the chat box, specific things so that I can repeat that. So is it clear up to this, everyone? Okay. So now, do you have the shell in the Windows? No. So suppose now somebody has sent the virus file to your system. You are using Windows. So you don't know that is a virus file. You can execute that file. So it will run. But if same file is sent on the Linux machine, now you don't know in that virus is there, but you try to run it in Windows, it will run. But in Linux, file does not have in Linux execute permission. And that is not in the predefined. So the shell will not allow that file to work or to run. So virus cannot enter. So this is the default advantage as a inbuilt security in Linux. And apart from that, in Windows, the file will have execute permission. Linux file will be created without execute permission. In Windows, the files are identified with extension. Like if it is a executable file, the extension will be .exe. If it is a database file, the extension will be .dat. If it is a media file, the extension will be .mp3. If it is a batch file, extension will be .bat. But in Linux, there is no extension. In Linux, there is no extension. So in Linux, the file is identified by symbols and alphabet. So in Linux, the files are identified by, it doesn't have any extension. So here, how we will identify the files and files, different types of file here is identified by different types of file will have different symbols and alphabet. Example, if it is a normal file, the symbol will be first character. How to check that? We'll see when we start the basic command. But just remember today, if it is a normal text file, it will be first letter will be hyphen. If it is a hidden file, before the name you will have dot. If it is a block file, first character will be B. If it is a link file, first character will be L. If it is a socket file, first character will be S. If it is a directory, first letter will be D. If it is a pipe file, P. If it is a special character file, first character will be C. So here, files are identified by alphabet or symbols. And here, by default in Linux, the file will be created without execute permissions. Unless until administrator give the execute permission, the file cannot be run by the users. So the Linux is more secure than in Windows because of the architecture level, as well as the at the OS level also, the file does not have any execute permission for the users to run that file. But whereas in Windows, the file will be there with execute permission. Users can run it. So the Linux is more secure at the architecture level due to the security of shell, and also the OS level due to the file will be there with only read permission, no execute permission. So the user cannot run unknown file. So that's why Linux OS is very secure, stable. Apart from that, when we start the installation, you will be also knowing that Windows OS can be installed only on single partition. So what is the advantage of that? It is easy to operate. But Linux OS can be installed on multiple partitions. What is the advantage of that? So the OS will be more secure and safe, like the Windows OS. When you install Windows OS, where it will get installed on C drive, single partition. So if one of the OS folder, like the user folder, any Windows folder get corrupted in Windows operating system, complete OS will get affected because everything is located on a single drive, single partition. So if one of the OS folder get corrupted in Windows, it will affect entire OS. But it will not happen in Linux because Linux OS will be installed on multiple partition. I'm not saying in Windows you cannot create partition. I'm saying when we install the Windows OS, are you able to create the partition for the OS installation? No. The Windows OS get installed on a single drive, C drive. So the advantage of that, it is easy to operate. The disadvantage in Windows, if one of the OS folder get corrupted, entire OS will get corrupted. So to avoid that in Linux, we can install the Linux OS on multiple partition so that when we install the OS on multiple partition in Linux, if one of the OS folder get affected due to any reason, maximum it will affect that partition without affecting complete OS. So these are the things makes Linux more safe, secure, stable. And apart from that, when we run any service in Windows, not any, but most of this time, if you run some bigger services in Windows, you have to restart the machine. So when you restart the machine, the users will not be able to access the server. So that comes under downtime. But in Linux, if you add any new server or new services, we don't have to restart the machine, just start the service. So there will be less downtime in Linux. So all these things makes Linux more secure, safe, stable. That is the reason you will find most of the companies prefer to use Linux on their servers. So the course which we are discussing, Linux administration, it is for around 32 to 35 days and the fee is only 4,000. So once you make the payment, I'll be sharing you three files because this course is designed in two parts. Because this course is designed in two parts so that anybody can do this course. So this course is designed in two parts: standalone administration, network administration. So one theory file I put it for standalone, one theory file for network admin. And I made one notepad practical step file in which I have written all the practical steps from first day to last day in this file. All the practicals, complete practical as per our syllabus is there in this file. So once you do the payment, I'll be sharing you this 3 files, 2 files related with the theory part of standalone and network admin. 1 file, all the practical steps of standalone and network admin complete, along with the link of the VMware, the CentOS 7 operating system. Everything is there in this file. So you can see this file and you can do the practical quite easily. Okay. So now let us discuss what are the topics which we are going to cover in this course. So before I start this, I should also give you one important information. So this course is not only helpful for you to work like a Linux administrator, but this is your foundation course for your higher courses like whether AWS, DevOps, Oracle, admin, database, Hadoop, SAP. In all these things, Linux is required. Okay, so please, if you don't believe me, verify from anybody who is working on the Linux or who are working on the cloud. You have asked them. Linux is a fundamental, mandatory, essential things. Okay, now coming to the topics. So this course is designed in a such a way that, as I told you, it will cover the RSCSA, Red Hat Certified Solution Associate syllabus. Apart from that, what are the essential things required to work like administrator in real time? That topics also added. So this course is designed in a such a way that we will start from the all fundamental things. Then slowly we'll go to the depth of the subject, including covering all the topics of RSCSS syllabus, plus some extra topics which are required as per the industry level. So this course is divided into 2 parts, standalone and network admin. So what are the topics we'll discuss in standalone? First, we'll see that. After that, we'll see what are the topics we'll be discussing in second part of our course, network admin. So this complete course will be about like 32 to 35 days. Then coming to the standalone topic, we'll start with introduction of Linux. Like what we have discussed yesterday, what we have discussed today, it comes under introduction of Linux. We are trying to still understand what is Linux. Okay, what is your doubt? You please write it or unmute your mic. I am coming to that. That only I'm explaining. So when you say standalone means you are working on a single machine, and that effect will be there on that machine. Network admin means you will be working on multiple machines. So you have to configure the server, which will provide the services to all the employees. So as an administrator, you should know administrator means what? Our job is what as an administrator? Controlling or managing the network. Network means interconnection of devices on which devices means computer on which our users will be sitting. So as an administrator, we need to provide the resources, what resources they require to do their work, we need to provide. And at the same time, we need to control and manage them. So that we will see with the help of standalone administration. And as an administrator, you need to provide the resources, services. So for that, you should know how to configure the server. So how to configure the servers, we will see under the network administration part. Okay, so let us discuss what are the topic we are going to discuss in standalone. Then you will understand the difference between standalone and network. So as an administrator, we should be, if you want to work like an administrator, on especially on Linux. So first we should know what is Linux. what are these features which we are discussing since yesterday. What is Linux? Now today we discuss what are these features. So tomorrow we'll see the structure of Linux OS. So if you want to operate the Linux operating system, you should know where exactly what data will be stored. So that we will discuss in completely or in depth tomorrow session. So tomorrow we'll see the structure of the Linux OS by which we can understand where exactly what type of data will be stored. Then day after tomorrow onwards, we'll start the practical, like starting with installation, how to install the Linux OS. After that, we will see the basic commands. So I have just written here basic commands, but this course is designed in a such a way that anybody can do this course, whether you are from the engineering background or commerce, from any background you can do. So initially our depth of the subject will be slowly will increase. So first we'll concentrate on fundamental things, because if our fundamental things are good or our foundation is good, you will able to operate the Linux easily. So that is the reason after the installation, we'll be discussing the basic command. So in the basic commands, we will be spending about 3 to 4 days only for basic commands, starting with how to log in as a root, how to open the terminal, how to check our working directory by using pwd, how to change the directory cd, all these fundamental basic things. Then after that, we'll see how to create a file using cat, touch, and vEditor. So the most commonly used command in Linux is cat, touch, and vEditor for creation of file. So that we will see in basic commands. After creating the file using cat, touch, and vEditor, we can understand the difference between cat, touch, and vEditor. After that, in basic commands, we will continue with what? How to create a directory by using mkdir, make directory. Then after creating the directory, in that we'll be discussing how to create single directory, multiple, yes, parental. Then we will see, how we can copy the files and directory. Then how we can rename files and directory. And finally, in basic commands, you'll see how to remove the files and directory. How to delete, remove means how to delete files and directory. So that is what we are going to discuss in basic commands. So our first 3 to 4 days, we will be discussing all fundamental things. Then after that, we will be discussing the soft link and hard link. What is the difference between soft link and hard link? How to create a hard link and soft link. Then after that, we will be discussing the booting process. Booting means loading of the OS from the hard disk to RAM. So you attend the interview as a fresher or experience, any years of experience. Compulsory 1 or 2 questions will be there from booting process. So we'll be discussing complete 1 day about the booting process. So booting process means loading of the OS. Loading of the OS from secondary storage device, that is hard disk, to primary storage device, that is RAM. So what are the different stages we have? Different run level. In which run level what function will be done? We'll discuss in booting process with run levels. So in which run level what function will be done, we'll be discussing. Then after that, we will proceed with what? Administration part. So as an administrator, what is your role? If the company conduct the interview and appointed somebody as a user or employee, so can that user or employee create the account by himself? Okay, so we'll be discussing the user administration. In that, as an administrator, how we can create the user account. So when the company conduct the interview and appoint some people as the employees or client, so who can create the account for them? Administrator. So in user administration, we'll be discussing how to create the user account, where the user information will be stored, how to modify that things we'll see in user administration. After that, we'll be discussing the group administration. What is a group? How to create a group? What is the purpose of? So in group administration, we'll be discussing what is a group. Group is a collection of users. So why the group is created? To assign same permission to multiple users. So we'll see how to create a group, how to add the users into the group before we apply the permission. After that, we'll see permission. So permission is basically used to for what? Controlling, managing the users as per the requirement. Okay, so we'll be discussing permission, which is used to provide the security and sharing to the data. As administrator, we need to protect the company data, as well as at the same time, the employees, authorized employees should access the data. So for that, we'll use the permission. So in Linux, we have three types of permission policies: basic file permission, access control list, which is called in short ACL, and the last one is advanced file permission. So we are going to discuss all these three policies, starting with basic file permission, access control list, and advanced file permission. Again, in advanced file permission, we will be discussing three types of permission: set UID, set GID. Okay. So again, in advanced file permission, we have three types of permission: set UID, set GID, and sticky bit. All three we will discuss. After that, we will be discussing how to monitor what are the tasks running in our network. So that we will be discussing under the topic called process management. Process management. What are the tasks running that we can able to observe or see by using the PS command, process status, and top command. So we'll be discussing process management. What are the tasks running with the help of PS command and top command. Then after that, the first part in standalone is completed. Second part will be disk management. So to manage the disk, what we need to create on the hard disk? Yes. If I want to manage my hard disk efficiently and effectively, what I need to create on my hard disk? If I want to manage my hard disk efficiently and effectively, what I need to create on the hard disk? Yes, partition. Very nice, Balaji. So second part will be our disk management, under which we are going to discuss about how to create a partition so that we can able to keep our data safe and secure. On that partition, how to implement the LVM, very, very important concept. LVM means logical volume manager. So on that partition, how we can combine the multiple partition or multiple hard disks into a single storage space, through which we can able to do the resizing of the partition space. So that we will be seeing with the help of LVM, logical volume manager, which is used to resize our partition or hard disk size. Then after that, we'll be discussing the swap also, and then RAID level, which is used for okay. Now with that, the disk management will be over. Now the last part in the standalone will be as an administrator. What we need to do, we need to make sure that the company data is never lost. So to prevent the company data, to prevent the data loss of the company, what we need to do as an administrator? Yes, to prevent the data loss as an administrator, what we need to create or do? Yes, to prevent the data loss as an administrator, what you have to do? Yes, we need to take the backup. Very nice. So we'll be discussing how to take the backup by using the dump command, tar command, and CPIO. And last will be discussed scheduling of jobs at using the ATM front tab. So these are the things we will be discussing in standalone part. I hope now you got the idea. The second part will be last part, network administration. In this, we are going to focus on how to configure the server. Server means which provides service. Suppose you want to share some files. So immediately it will share? No. So we have to configure some server. So for sharing purpose in Linux, we have three services: FTP, NFS, Samba. So all three we will be discussing. First starting with FTP. So when we configure the FTP, which stands for File Transfer Protocol, it can transfer any type of file on any OS, but only files, not directory. Not directly. So if you want to share both files in directory, then we can go for NFS. But NFS will work only from Linux to Linux. FTP on any OS, but only file, not directory. NFS only file, not directory. Okay. So we'll be discussing NFS, network file system, through which we can share both files in directory, but it will work only Linux to Linux, not other OS. So if you want to do the sharing from Linux to Windows, Windows to Linux, we have to use Samba server. So for sharing purpose, we'll be discussing three types of server: FTP, NFS, and Samba. So with Samba, we can do the sharing from Linux to Windows, Windows to Linux. Okay. So Samba server is very, very useful, through which we can do the sharing from Linux to Windows, Windows to Linux. Then we will be discussing about how to configure the DNS server, through which the name can be resolved into IP, or IP can be resolved to name. So that once we configure DNS, we can access the things by name, which is easy to remember compared to IP. Next, we will be discussing Apache web server, which is used to host the website. How to do that, we'll see in Apache web server. Then we'll be also discussing how to configure the DHCP server. So if you want to configure DHCP server, what you have to do first thing, you have to create a scope. that is called in Linux IP range. From that, the client will get the IP. And finally, I'll be showing you how to take the remote desktop of other machine and how to copy it. So this we will see in tomorrow, sorry, not tomorrow, when we do the network admin part. So these are the total content which we are going to discuss in this course. Okay. So tomorrow when we start the session, we'll start with structure of Linux. So once you understand that, it will be easier for you to operate the Linux OS. So I hope you'll be there tomorrow as well. So before I close the session, if you have any question, any doubt, you can ask. Yes, any question, any doubt, if you have, please ask. Okay. So is there any question, any doubt, or can I close the session? Class duration 1 hour. Okay, Srikant. So we will provide you. See, standalone topic means you are creating the user, applying permission, you are creating the partition, applying the resizing, observing the server. All these things who can do? Only admin. So when you are doing something from a single machine, that comes under standalone. So these things, whatever we have discussed, cannot be done by user. Only admin can do this. Understood, Balaji? Okay. So can I close the session? Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you, everyone. Good night. See you tomorrow. I'm closing the session.